guys, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about some one-pot meals and show you a few recipes that my family has just been loving right now. So before we actually get into the recipe, I wanted to show you guys the actual pot. This thing is super heavy, that we use most of the time. So it's pretty burned on the bottom. I need to scrape that off, I guess. But this is the one that I use for all three of the recipes that I am going to show you guys in this video. I grabbed this from Target probably 3 years ago, I think. I'm not sure if they have them anymore, but I'm sure that they have something very similar. It's an enameled cast iron pan, so it's very, very heavy, which if you are cooking like meat or something, you want a heavy bottomed pan to do that in. You can use like a stock pot like this one. This is a copper pot that I grabbed off of Amazon, but it is I'm gonna say this name wrong, Maviel pot. I've used this one for one-pot meals as well. I really love the patina on the outside, which is why I do not shine it. I love the fact that it looks like I use it. So I'm going to show you guys 3 different meals that I use this pan for. Did not use anything besides this pan, which makes cleanup really nice. And all 3 of these meals took less than half an hour to make.
The first recipe that I am going to do today is a creamy pasta with a meat sauce. So I'm going to start with a couple tablespoons of olive oil in my pan. And from that, I'm just going to add in some onions. Now I keep these in my freezer, so I have chopped onions in my freezer at all times. So that's why they're frozen. But you can obviously chop your own. If you don't want to do onions, you can just add minced onion later. So once these are kind of translucent, I'm going to add some garlic and saute that just for a couple minutes, just until it becomes fragrant. You do not want to burn that garlic. And then at that point, I am going to add in my meat. So I have about a pound of hamburger meat. You could do this with Italian sausage as well, and that would be really good. But I am just putting it in with my garlic and onions to just kind of give it some flavor. Go ahead and salt and pepper that after I've washed my hands, by the way. And I'm just going to saute that until this meat is browned. Once the meat is browned, I take a paper towel and just use my spoon to kind of move the paper towel around. This is going to soak up any of that excess fat that is in the pan without having to actually drain it. Love this little trick. Once I get all of that fat out, I'm obviously going to take that paper towel out and throw that away. And then I add in a jar of pasta sauce, just any jarred pasta sauce that you want. And then I'm going to fill up that pasta sauce jar twice. Go ahead and shake it around really good. Make sure you're getting all that sauce out. But I'm going to fill it up with water and pour that into my pan. Go ahead and bring that all to a boil. Stir everything around really well. Bring it all to a boil. And then once you do, you're going to add in whatever pasta you choose. So I'm just going to use a medium shells because that's just the shape that I grabbed. But it honestly worked really well to just pick up all of the sauce that this recipe has. So it's nice. Once you have that in your sauce, water stuff, you're going to want to push it around and make sure that you are pushing it down into that liquid as much as possible. Cover it, and you're going to cook it for the amount of time that the pasta is required. So I think the box on this one said 10 to 12 minutes. Make sure that you are stirring that pasta around as much as possible so it's not sticking to the bottom or sticking to each other. Once you get it all cooked most of the way, then you're going to add in about a half a cup to a cup of cream. That's kind of just dependent on you and how much you want to add for your own family. And then I'm going to top it with this is actually a mixture of mozzarella cheese and Monterey Jack that I just had in my refrigerator. So I didn't want to do just mozzarella cheese for this if I already had some. So there is some Monterey Jack in there, but it ended up turning out really well. So that is the first meal done. This was a huge hit with the family. That sauce is going to thicken up the longer it sits from the starch on that pasta. And then our next recipe, we are going to do a shrimp and rice recipe. So I am starting out with a couple of tablespoons of butter, melting that really well. And then to that, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of minced garlic, or about one garlic head, or garlic clove, sorry, minced up. And saute that just until you can kind of start to smell it. And then to that, I'm going to add some spinach. So this is definitely going to be a whole meal. We're going to get some greens in there. I'm going to saute that spinach up. That's going to wilt down quite a bit. I probably could have stood to add about twice this amount in this recipe, but I didn't. I stopped there. So this wilted down quite a bit, as you can see, but that's okay. It ended up being a good amount. And then to there, I'm going to add my rice. So I use basmati rice, but any long grain rice would work just fine with this. I like to toast my rice before I actually start cooking it. So anytime I'm making rice, I always toast it. So this is a good place to toast it. So I'm toasting it in that garlic butter, and it is delicious smelling at this point. And then from there, you're just going to add in 2 cups of chicken stock. I'm using some homemade bone broth that I made. Great way to stick that in. This is a great recipe for that. Actually, all of these recipes, you could use bone broth. I did go ahead and add just a little extra water, about half of a cup of water, just to increase that amount of liquid that's in there. And then I added 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm going to season this with some seasoned salt and then give this a good stir. Once that rice is almost done cooking, I did go ahead and cover it after I stirred it. Once that rice is pretty close to getting done, maybe about 5 minutes left of the actual time that you need it to be cooking, go ahead and pull the lid off, give it a stir, and then you're going to put your thawed raw shrimp on top of that. Just like this. I like to arrange it to make it pretty, but you could probably just throw it on there and it would be fine. You want to just remember to use however much shrimp that you would need for each serving. So this was about 5 people, I think, ate this. So I tried to make sure that we had enough shrimp for that. This was an entire bag. I think it was a whole pound of extra large shrimp, maybe. The size really doesn't matter, honestly, too much. You just don't want huge or tiny. And then from here, I'm going to salt and pepper my shrimp so that everything is seasoned nicely. And then go ahead and cover that, and you're going to finish that cooking. And when the rice is done, the shrimp will be done too. It is not overcooked. It is delicious. And it is ready to be served. This was a real crowd pleaser. My family loves any rice dish, and the added shrimp was definitely a fun little touch. We don't have shrimp too often in our house, but this one was great. For the last recipe, I am doing a creamy chicken pesto recipe. So I'm going to start with a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm going to put my boneless, skinless chicken breast topside down in the olive oil. I didn't use all of this chicken for this recipe, but anytime that make sure you wash your hands before you stick it in the salt. But I always salt, not pepper, my chicken when I cook it, because the salt will season, the pepper will burn. But I like to go ahead and fill my pot up so that I have some just boneless, skinless, sauteed or grilled chicken in my refrigerator. It's just a great use of that. So I cooked that just until it was completely cooked through and nice and browned. As you can see, the fond on the bottom of that pot just looks delicious. So I am adding 4 cups I have homemade chicken bone broth, but again, you can just use any chicken stock, it's fine. And then I like to kind of try to scrape some of that stuff up on the bottom. That is just extra flavor. And then from here, I am adding 2 cups of milk. And then some garlic. That was a lot of garlic, but it is a major player in this recipe. Once you have that all boiling, then you're going to add your pasta. For this, I had, I think, rigatoni, and it was a perfect choice for this recipe. This is a saucy, delicious recipe, and that just was a great shape to use for that. Make sure that you stir your pasta as you go. Again, just make sure that it doesn't stick. So once that pasta was done cooking, I added about a cup of heavy cream and a good handful, probably half a cup or so, of grated Parmesan cheese. I did grate this myself. That is going to give you the best result, but just out of the green can is probably okay too. And then the most flavor of this dish is going to come from 2 to 3 tablespoons of store-bought jarred pesto. This stuff is really, really good, but I wanted to kind of tamp the flavor down just a little bit with that cream. It just is going to be something that my family will eat a little bit better rather than having just a full green pasta. So stir that all together, and then you can add your chicken back in and then give this a stir. Again, I didn't use all of that chicken that I cooked for this recipe, so it's not 5 full pieces of chicken in there, but it's probably 3. And then you can just plate this up. The longer you wait, the more that sauce is going to thicken, but I did not wait long enough for that.
And that's it, you guys. So those are 3 meals that my family is definitely loving, and I am loving because they are easy to make and definitely easy to clean up after. So I hope that was helpful for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching.